Oh, hold on, one dude. Hold on.
Hey.
Hello.
How's it going?
Excellent.
Nice. DJ and Matt, you're welcome to join if you want.
Am I joined in?
You're in. You can turn your video on, or you can keep it off if you want to remain word-based only.
Yeah, all right. I'll turn it on here in a second.
Okay.
I'm driving, so I'm a little bit muted right now, but I'm here.
Cool. And I think Lisa should be here soon too, I imagine.
Purpose, how do you like to show up to co-create?
Oh, that sounds like Lisa.
And what role do you see yourself?
Hello, hello.
Hello.
Hi.
Welcome.
Hi. Hey, everybody.
Hey.
Nice to be here with you all.
Yeah, you too. Hey, Lisa.
Hi. Hello.
Hey. I think you might be, are you guys in the same room together?
Oh, that's a problem. And go out.
It's not too bad.
Huh? Oh, yeah. All right.
Cool.
Cool. So let me just see if everybody's here already. I think we're still missing Ricky, if I'm not wrong.
Oh, is he joining too?
Yes.
Awesome.
Okay. But I would say I'll just quickly introduce myself, and then we can start in a few minutes.
Cool.
So I've met most of you already. Hi, Nick. I haven't met you yet, just through Telegram.
Yeah.
My name is Lisa. I am trying out and seeing if if I'm going to take over a role with Seeds and Hypha as a facilitator, and so this is my first formal job that I'm doing, coordinating this call. Very good. And so our agenda for the day is that each one of us quickly introduces him or herself with your purpose and passion, and then second point would be what you'd like to do, or how do you see yourself co-creating in a regenerative society, and what role you see yourself fulfilling in Hypha. And I think in the last call, as Reggie commented, I think there was a 5-minute time limit for each person. So maybe if we see that somebody's going over the 5 minutes, I'll interrupt after a while. And I hope that's okay with each one of you. And yeah, whoever would like to start, welcome.
Maybe I'll start because you don't know me. Thank you for facilitating this call, because I missed the last 2 calls because of the chaos that it was like set up. But I'll be quick. My name is Nicolas Teger, and I met Ricky maybe 1 year ago, and he told me about seeds, and I love the whole concept. I'm really into cryptocurrency. My background is technology, programming. I've written some smart contracts and all these things. But really, I love the concept of seeds, because it's sort of like fulfilling the vision that cryptocurrency was presenting as a way to govern, ourselves without politicians. So I'm here to create heaven on earth. And I'm hoping that Seeds is sort of like a way into that, because it's replacing some of the systems that are currently blocking everyone. As far as how I can help Seeds, I'm not sure. I have a lot of technical skills, but they already have a lot of tech guys. So I'm not sure yet. We'll see. I'm really excited to hear about everyone else and to hear, you know, what's going on with Hypha. I don't even know about Hypha. So that's it. That's Nick.
Okay, great. Thank you, Nick. Thank you very much.
You can go. My name is Daniel Ryberg. Right now I'm an inmate garden coordinator for the local jail. My hope is to save the world, end money, all those things. Heaven on earth sounds really good too. My role has basically been taking people who are kind of disenfranchised from our existing, socio-ecological model and retraining them with sustainability skills, communal sustainability skills. One of my big hopes is that, in the future, we can reframe currency from a fiat currency that's strictly extractive to a valuation of people's time and a valuation of the impacts that people are having on the world. And that really fits, I think, the model of Seeds and some of the conversations I've had with Reiki. I think a lot of the nuts and bolts of what Seeds is doing is a little bit above my head and my pay grade, but my hope is to be one of the providers that operate on the Seeds platform. My role is already retraining people for a more sustainable future, and if I can do that within a community, or if I can provide services that push this better world of ours, better world of the future, then and if Seeds can help me get there, I want to be a big part of that. So that's my rant.
Okay, thank you, Daniel.
Awesome.
Thank you very much. Who is going next?
I guess I'll go next. Did it work? Oh, okay, so my name is Matt, and my passions are light therapy. I use the Ajna light and the neuro light to do neuroplasticity. And my true passion is going to be enlightenment. And I'm very encouraged to somehow mix leadership with enlightenment, because I believe that's what we're missing. And I would like my role to be in this whole Seeds and Hypha. I kind of want to be somewhat of a speaker to present this to people, because just like the last gentleman said, it is a little bit out of the box and unordinary, and people first have to get a grasp on cryptocurrency. Nonetheless, the system that Seeds has put out. So I would like to further investigate how to do that.
Great, thank you, Matt.
Super.
Thank you very much.
Cool. I can go next. Yeah, I'm calling in from New Zealand. So it's this is my first Seeds or Hypha call. I haven't been involved in the other ones, so it's nice to see some faces and start to get a feel of who's in the crowd. Yeah, my background or area has been in psychology. I started something called Mindfulness for Change here in New Zealand, which is kind of looking at the link between mindfulness and systemic change. And through that, working with a whole lot of social entrepreneurs and people doing things in different areas, and sort of became more and more aware of all the systemic blocks to the kind of world that we want to see. And this idea that we need like a whole new normal to actually instantiate some of the things that we want to see, that kind of heaven on earth thing that you mentioned, Nick. And it seems like it just takes a whole lot of ingredients, and like one of the big ones is tech. So yeah, feels like I'm wanting to bring a puzzle piece which is around kind of the new psycho culture for this new normal. And a lot of that's come out of the work that I've done with Mark as well, who will introduce himself in a minute, I guess. And also met Reggie 2 or 3 years ago now, and been collaborating with him on a few different things. So yeah, been really enjoying those collaborations, and looking forward to contributing to Hypha, probably Hypha more than Seeds, but also Seeds as well. Yeah, looking forward to getting to know people. Thanks.
Great, thank you, Nick.
I can go. And what I'm passionate about, I've just to come out of a conversation with someone that I work with, and what I was noticing is that there's this kind of longing for heaven on earth, or however we want to phrase it. And it seems like it's really helpful to find ways to orient from that place now and here. And so my passion is just, how do we do that together without necessarily knowing how? You know, just finding ways and learning, and then instantiating those in all sorts of ways in our lives, and in our technology, and our relationships, and our work, and you know, wherever. So that's where my passion is just discovering together ways of doing that, and that is my contribution. I feel like in particular the angle, the thing that lights me up about how to contribute towards this regenerative society or new civilization, as I experience it, is the sense that inside all the noise of, and the pain and the suffering, everything that's going on inside me and in between us and everywhere, there's signal, there's beautiful things, there's extraordinary gifts. And I feel really curious and energized about how do we get better at discerning those and amplifying those. And I have the sense that this thing that's happening with Hypha and Seeds is kind of like a nexus, or a place for the gathering together of a lot of us around how do we actually kind of instantiate the beautiful things, the extraordinary things, and how do we learn to orient from that and still face all the difficulty and all that. But yeah, I feel really moved by I listened and watched the first one of these, and it was really inspiring. So that sort of pulled me to feel like, yeah, I really want to contribute. And in terms of a role, what Nick mentioned about the psychoculture, like the internal culture that we've each got, and then how we collaborate together, I'm really curious about how do we create great conditions to let what's really inspiring us actually to be born through us into the world that we're living in. So it's culture itself, and how not only there's another piece of that which I feel engaged by, which is there's us as individuals, and I think there's a bunch of extraordinary people, and then there's all these things that we're doing with other people, all these initiatives. And I'm really curious about how Hypha and Seeds can become a place where initiatives as well as people can gather, because I feel like there's so much potency in that, and I'm really curious about how to support that, because I want, like, I have an organization which I founded called Show Up Lab, and I would like Show Up Lab to be part of Hypha and Seeds, not just me, myself, or the people, the individuals that I collaborate with. So I have some curiosity around that.
Thank you very much, Mark. It's great to meet you again.
Yeah, you too.
I'm happy to go next. Nice to be here with you all again. And yeah, my name is Franz Allmeyer. I have a background in biomedical engineering and health policy planning and financing, and I've had a career working with institutions such as the United Nations, international organizations, claiming to do that they're doing amazing things, but I have been frustrated yet and again to see that all of this are very fragmented approaches and towards doing what they claim to be doing, and that prompted me to kind of seek outside the box and discover a very fascinating world of action and taking responsibility in my own hands, which is why we're all here, I guess. I think we're being woven by the same dream, and it is very exciting to be here with you all and kind of experience that flow of energy of wanting to co-create on something bigger than us. So it's a real pleasure to share with you all. Just a little bit to my current work. Yeah. Well, let's answer the quick purpose and passion. Yeah, I think I kind of have discovered the lens of culture and cultural evolution, and I think my purpose and passion is to help the transition of this culture of fragmentation and induced scarcity that we have been kind of put through, and enable that transition towards what I like to call a culture of integrity that is based more on a integral well-being and takes in account the holistic reality of our existence. And yeah, that is what my purpose is all about. What we've been doing towards that is Lisa and I just recently launched a co-creation platform designed to unite efforts towards co-creating a sustainable planetary culture. As a victory there, we recently kind of consolidated a partnership with several of the governments of Central America and a few institutes and universities, and have come up with a 5-year plan to regenerate Central America from Guatemala to Panama, which is designed to meet socioeconomic and cultural needs at the same time of restoring essential biological corridors into inclusive economies that sustain well-being. At the same time, we are gathering the Ashoka change-making community into this platform to kind of realign in our overarching goals and purposes and tackle together the challenges that we all face. Another project that we're doing is we have launched a small documentary series that highlight the best practices in what we were talking about, all of these small ways to create a culture of integrity that has a place for each and every one of us. With university in Costa Rica, we have recently just launched a program on regenerative entrepreneurship. So we're also hoping that all of these points, I think I'm very excited to have come across Seeds in Reiki not too long ago, but I think Seeds and Hypha have a fantastic role to kind of be, as you well mentioned previously, that convergence point in towards allowing all of these vibrant things to come together into an alternative system that if we each of us take a lead role on going forth with it, we will slowly but surely create a viable alternative for others surely to follow. So I'm very excited to see that happen. In terms of role, I've already been in touch with Reiki, and he's suggested in some sort of an ambassador role, especially for the region of Central America, where we are already kind of unifying and consolidating a lot of these organizations and bringing them together into a well-being society. So I would be very happy to kind of continue in that role and pushing forward to co-create this culture of integrity. And that's it from me. Nice to be here with you all.
Awesome.
Okay, thank you, Franz. Very good. I think we still have 2 people missing, Adam and Reggie.
I can go. Yeah, I was noticing some similarities between your introduction. Is it Franz? Is that how you say it? Franz?
Yeah, Franz, F-R-A-N-Z.
Franz. Cool. Yeah. So I was trained as a biomedical engineer as well. And you're working on integrity.earth. I'm working on Earth equity. But there's other similarities too. But anyway, so maybe I'll just give a quick story. Apologies for people who have heard this before. But yeah, my background was more in startups. So we were trying to figure out how to do kind of equity arrangements, kind of value exchange between people who are working on the startup, and what kind of equity did they get in the company, and wanted to make sure that those arrangements were not based on how good a negotiator the person was, but how much value they were bringing. So that was kind of an idea, headed over to New Zealand with, kind of looking back, and then actually met Nick at a Charles Eisenstein retreat in New Zealand. And then while we were there, heard that a river was given personhood. So the river, the Wanganui River in New Zealand owns itself, which really just blew my mind. And then the other thing that was happening in New Zealand is people were saying that they could do certain types of work in New Zealand that they couldn't do in other places because the land was supporting them. So I was like, okay, well, if the land's providing value and people recognize that, and the river owns itself, so that means it could own other assets too. So the river is also, like, in the land is providing value to companies. So shouldn't we? But it can't negotiate. But shouldn't we recognize that value that the land and the river is providing to our companies and give it equity? So give the river, give the mountain equity in our companies. And then as an early shareholder, doesn't it make sense to give it a board seat or a voice on the board? So shared this at a New Frontiers conference in New Zealand, and like 5 founders of companies came up to me and said they wanted to give equity to nature. And I was not working in the environmental field at the time, and I was like, I guess this is the thing I'm going to be working on next. So that was around 3 years ago. And then what I kept hearing from people as I started getting into the space was, if you really want someone to speak on behalf of nature, you really need to talk with, in New Zealand, it would be the Māori, the local indigenous people of New Zealand. So I ended up getting connected to Tamaho Rowe, who's connected to the Wanganui River, and then Jamie Tuta, who's chief negotiator for Mount Taranaki. So they're part of Earth Equity now too. And we're arranging for the first company to donate equity either to the Wanganui River or to Mount Taranaki. So the river will actually be a shareholder of a company, or the mountain will probably quite soon. So I would really like to scale that out to more startups and more entities. And part of what I'm interested in doing, both for Earth Equity, but also for Hypha and Seeds, is to really get into this value flow of not only financial capital, but the other forms of capital, like social capital and intellectual capital and material capital and all these other forms of capital, which are also important. And I think if we can map the flows of capital, and not all of them, just to be clear, I don't think should translate into financial capital. I think it changes some of the capitals if you translate them to finances. Everything can't be converted into dollars. But this is part of what I'm really excited about working on with Seeds, and especially with Hypha. And then the other piece that I really am excited about is this idea of gratitude as a decentralized way of allocating value. So most companies, it's kind of top down, right? The CEO and then the VPs, and it kind of goes down through the structure. They create value, and most of the value is linked to sort of producing financial capital. So I think it would be really interesting as a sort of balance to that, to allow for lots of different people within the organization. You give them a certain amount of gratitude to give out to other people in the organization as they feel called to, as they feel it in themselves. And this could be actually linked to value or capital. And so you could see sort of a social graph of what's happening within the organization, and you can recognize value that maybe is even you wouldn't recognize before, including different kinds of value that is really important culturally, but maybe it doesn't link directly to financials, but it's really important for the group itself. So that's sort of the things that I'm working on within Hypha and Seeds, is that value exchange and this sort of gratitude currency idea. And then Nick and Mark and I have been talking about and really working on living this sort of like, how do we create a collective antenna between people where we can bring in more signal and hopefully, for doing it well, reduce the amount of noise. So what sort of things can a group come up with when they're oriented in such a way to maximize signal and reduce noise? So we've been experimenting with that, I think, for like 5 or 6 months now. And those experiments have been really enriching. So I think that would be really cool to bring into Hypha as well. So yeah, that's kind of a snapshot. Good to meet you all.
Thank you very much, Reggie.
Mm-hmm.
And then I think we're only missing Adam.
Okay, thanks, Lisa. I think purpose and passion is a big topic, but the way I would describe that most concisely is that I would like to live in service to life. That's my purpose as I've defined it at present. And how I would show up for co-creating a regenerative society, I think we can all co-create and serve on a lot of different levels at once. So for me, this includes being, to the extent of my capacity, a mindful and heartful sense organ for what could be and how we can get there at one level. And then on another level, I'm a developer and have a big interest in systems, and this is the lens that I like to use to look at the world and to help design systems that embody the intelligence of life, or that can have biomimetic potential, and also to help projects that are working towards a new kind of society or regenerative version of human existence on the planet. So that has included a range of things. And then more specifically, I'm quite interested in governance and collective intelligence and local economics and how these things can relate to each other. So I'm involved in local economic planning on the little island where I live, and I've also been following a lot of the kind of the regenerative edge of the crypto movement, which I think is where Seeds is sitting. And I'm quite passionate about the potential to close economic loops within a non-parasitic economic system. I think that's almost critical to be able to move forward with abundance, combined with doing things right and living in the ways that we wish to live in relation to each other and in relation to the planet. Yeah, so that's the ways that I'd like to contribute to regenerative society. And in Hypha in particular, I don't know what the roles will be or what will be needed per se, but I've started experimenting with CAD, which is a very recently released systems modeling tool that's been used for modeling token economics in various crypto systems. And I would love to contribute to the understanding of and analysis of and design of the governance and economics within Seeds and how these two things relate, and modeling so that we know what we're getting into before we have to build an entire system. both for governance and for the economics of it. So I'm sure there are lots of other ways that it would be fun and exciting to contribute, but that's top of my mind at the moment.
Cool.
Thanks.
Great, thank you, Adam. Very interesting. Which island are you on?
It's called Cortes Island. It's a small island on the west coast of Canada.
Okay, cool. Cool.
Oh,
I have to look for that.
I think I'm not too far away from you right now. I'm on the San Juan Islands.
Okay, so you are just probably 200 kilometers south.
Okay, still a ways.
Wow.
It's
Nice.
small by, it's a short distance by Canadian standards.
Yeah. Nice.
Nice. I forgot to tell you a bit about me at the beginning, probably because I was a bit nervous. So I'll just start with that. So my name is Lisa. I studied education and economics and environmental technology and was working in the international relations in the diplomacy world, representing my country Liechtenstein in Berlin, and also working in Liechtenstein itself. And then started to realize that there's something missing, and I'm not completely happy and fulfilled with this work, because I don't see, well, I didn't see what this was actually working towards, apart from just I didn't see any betterment in the system. I didn't see anything happening, and so I came to Central America and started working here in human rights, and realized that it's very important for me to serve people and empower disenfranchised people. And I realized that all of this has to start with the conservation and regeneration of nature, which led to the start and the creation of our organization Integrity.Earth, and also several of the initiatives that we started working on recently, as Franz already mentioned. And my role in Hypha, well, I'm starting out and very interested to see where this leads me. Right now, the role is called Ecosystem Facilitator, and I'm still finding out what all of this entails. And I also look forward to adding a bit of value to the value allocation discussion that Reggie was talking about, and see where else I might fit in. Exactly. Thank you very much. Yeah, so I'm not sure what else you discussed in the first call, but I thought maybe if there are a few questions, and we can see if a few of us who are already in Seeds and Hypha are involved can maybe answer them. And if not, I will note them down, and I'll see how to get back to you with the answers.
Cool. That sounds good.
I have a quick question. What is the relationship between Hypha and Seeds? In a nutshell, you don't have to go into a lot of detail.
Do you want me to try on that one, Lisa?
Yes, please. Thank you, Reggie.
Okay. So yeah, the way that I see it is Hypha is kind of the parent entity, and Seeds is like the first child. So Hypha could do other projects in addition to Seeds, but Seeds is kind of the first sort of movement into the world. And Seeds is kind of the other way I see Hypha, and this might not be universally agreed upon, but the other way I see Hypha is that Seeds is kind of the financial move into the world, which I think is really important. But I think there's other types of capital and other types of relationships that are also important, especially from like that. And then I think in addition to that, also, Hypha is kind of like a bit of a place to experiment with the creation of decentralized autonomous organizations. So these different sort of DAO structures can be experimented with within Hypha. So there can be a version of that for Seeds, but then additional people and additional entities can come within Hypha and adopt and become part of Hypha and be included in that sort of ecosystem. So part of the reason, sorry, this is probably longer than you were asking for. Part of the reason I think that can become really interesting is that you could start to have a values exchange, including non-financial value, between entities that are part of Hypha. And so part of what we're looking at as part of that values exchange within Hypha is what entities can be involved, and then how can they flow capital between them? How can they flow gift between them? So I think that could kind of unlock and other types of exchanges that we don't typically see. Yeah, so that's probably a bigger nutshell than you were looking for, but that's
No, that's the perfect nutshell. Thank you very much.
okay. Cool.
Any further questions? Thank you, Reggie.
I guess.
Yeah,
Sorry.
oh, sorry.
No, go ahead.
I'll just ask a quick question. What is the tagline of Hypha? Nova. So what is the main goal or motto or something like that?
Reggie, would you mind going ahead?
Sure. So my internet's a little bit choppy. Did you say what's the main sort of goal of Hypha?
Yes.
Tagline.
Yeah. Well, I can give you what I think. This may not be universally true. So yeah, so with that caveat, the way that I see it is kind of like, again, seeds is kind of the financial move into the world, like changing how money works, like dollars, right? But there's other forms of capital that are more, I think about it in terms of like the earth. So if seeds is kind of like people using money, how would the earth sort of exchange value and want to be exchanging value, including with both humans and non-humans? So that's kind of part of how I see Hypha, and part of the entities that I'm excited about sort of being involved are entities that have that kind of conception and that sort of relationship with the planet. Yeah.
It also seems to me like there's something about the multidimensionality of Hypha. It's like currency is a dimension of heaven on earth. It's like we have to have a way of doing that, but there are all these other things we need to build in, and Hypha is like this playground where we can experiment with how we bring them all together and what can happen out of that.
Yeah,
that's brilliant. Okay.
And it comes from the word. The word comes from the kind of like underground fungal networks that connect everything together in a forest. So that's kind of nice. I found.
Thank you. That's perfect. Thank you.
Is Hypha on Telos, or is only seeds on Telos?
I think only seeds is on Telos. So Hypha, I think officially is a New Zealand entity, but
okay.
very, very loosely held as a New Zealand entity. It's mostly a virtual entity. So yeah. So I don't think Hypha exists on Telos at all. It just exists sort of on DAOs and in our imagination. And then there is a sort of legal entity in New Zealand, but not much happens there, I don't think.
One question that I have about, because what I notice is that even in the conversations we're just having now, and certainly in the previous go that we had at having a conversation, those of us who are part of that, it feels like there's a very rich set of possibilities here, like between the humans. And I'm just curious, how does either Seeds or Hypha facilitate the possibilities in those relationships to come to fruition? Because, man, there are a lot, and it makes me curious about how do we fructify those or nourish those, care for those.
I can speak to that a little bit. So I think, and there's probably a lot more here, and Reiki would be able to answer this a lot more completely than me. But one of the things that they've built into Hypha is this idea of being able to kind of propose an idea. You can propose an idea, and then, or make a proposal, and then people can sort of say like, that's a good idea, or like sort of almost like vote for it. And then those things can start coming out into the world. And then there's also like these like harvests that happen. So like, instead of like banks, where like banks over, I guess the last 10 years have made like $11 trillion or something like that worldwide. Instead of having that kind of, those harvests go to the banks, the harvests go to people within seeds or Hypha, and then also to bioregions. So how did the bioregions like regenerate? And so people within Hypha could also vote on that. So those are kind of like two ways that creativity can be kind of mixed in on the seed side. And then I think on the Hypha side, it's much more wide open. So like Mark, you know, one of the things that we talked about is like this sort of collective antenna culture. So like what kind of conversations can happen when we hold things like that, and what kind of entities can spring out of those kinds of conversations. So I think that would be more of a landing spot in Hypha than in seeds. That's my sense of it.
Is there an idea of, I think there is, of some like kind of profiles or something, so that I think this is like, we're going to harvest these videos and then they're going to become part of our profiles? Because I was sort of thinking that just looking around on those, I'm imagining multiple of us might want to connect with multiple of us. And so I'm guessing that's just another loose way. And is that a Hypha thing, or is that a seeds thing?
So one of the things,
can I just, it sounds to me like it's the next, it could be the next child of Hypha, to have a social network or something like that facilitates those connections.
Yeah, luckily they actually have that built for in seeds. So there's something that almost looks like LinkedIn in seeds.
Oh wow!
So you actually have like your interests listed out, and then people who, you can look at somebody's profile and then see what interests they have, and if it's overlapping and they're in seeds, there's, you know, probably a good chance that you might want to chat with them. But it doesn't mean that that's the be all end all. I mean, you could also do extra stuff. Yeah, and I mean, of course, this is extremely open. So if people meet here and like go off and do some other experiment, that's cool too. Like there's no ownership or, you know, that's all great too, obviously.
Okay. Mark, were you already, no, sorry, Adam, were you already able to ask your question? No, right?
I haven't yet, and it may be that the answer is somewhere obvious, like in the Telegram, but I'm curious. There was a bit of a roadmap in the white deck. I'm curious if that is still up to date or where the current plan is living.
I don't know. And actually, I've never read any of the white papers. Maybe I should have, but I haven't. This is all just from conversations. So yeah, I mean, feel free to message Reiki directly on Telegram. I'm sure he'll know, and he's usually pretty responsive too.
Cool, thanks.
Mm-hmm.
Any further questions?
I have a integrity.earth question.
Go ahead.
And it relates to seeds and Hypha as well. So in terms of like the kind of like the Earth ambassador role and the types of things that you're already doing in Central America, I'm wondering, like, can you share more about like what that, Lisa, you and I have already spoken about some of that, but I'm kind of curious, like when you see the sort of like full intersection of say seeds or Hypha and integrity.earth, like in the bioregion, like what's your like vision for what that could look like? And feel free, Franz or Lisa, to.
You'll be happy to jump in. Yeah. The beautiful thing is that what we're focused on is in the process of co-creation. So what we're doing is integrating different institutions, and ranging from universities to governments to indigenous people to tourism spots, And we're trying to consolidate on partnerships to bring about circular economies. And the idea was to do it in a very loose terms, where, you know, just using our platform, where institution that's willing to co-create with us and has some forms of capital would do it, not necessarily financial, but also financial. And that's how we have been doing it so far. So that was very exciting to kind of come across Hypha and Seeds. That looks very promising to be actually the financial system tying those circular economies together. So just for example, some of the things that we are right now in the roadmap is we're in communications with indigenous communities that have their different sort of artisanry or products that normally they have a hard time selling. We would love to promote this sustainable ways of living, whether it is farming, whether it is artisanry, whether it is regenerative tourism, into circular economies where all of the different players feed onto each other, and we consolidate the market by maintains and making it more of a decentralized and open for co-creation for where everyone can join. So where that will fit in with Seeds and Hypha, I still am not fully sure. But for example, one of the things that we've talked with Ricky thus far is that we're right now setting up, one of the first things that we would like to approach is regenerative tourism. So we were thinking of creating a platform that allows for people to book their, what we like to call a participatory learning experience. So you can imagine if you would be interested to go to Guatemala, you could pick your site you'd visit according to what you would like to learn. And the things that we're putting up to learn are, for example, things of energy sovereignty, food sovereignty, integral education, integral healthcare, where sort of this indigenous communities are offering this knowledge that they have. And through consolidating the network, we create a marketplace that's more based on a cooperative approach, where resources are shared through communities, and furthermore in biological corridors to kind of fortify each other. So for example, not only financially, but also in food or in energy or in sort of other multiple forms of capital as well. So I think once we have that in place, then Seeds/Hypha would easily be the currency to trade these things on, and would be the platform to allow for that. So I think it's the perfect next step for what we're doing with Integrity.Earth.
Beautiful. Yeah, that's amazing. How far along is the platform that you've already built out?
The Integrity.Earth is fully functional. So I don't know that you also mentioned the Seeds platform, that it's, I don't know if it's already able to be used, but I would be very happy to open up the co-creation platform for all of us to start getting to know each other and start seeing where there is coherence between each other, and to see what opportunities start coming up where we can involve other institutions and other people. And as Seeds come along, I think that could be a perfect way to kind of consolidate and find the cohesion that's needed to bring it to the next level.
Yeah, that sounds amazing. I think both for the people that are in and connected to Seeds and Hypha, and then there's a whole a bunch of people that are doing things where kind of like the environment meets financial currency stuff, or financial systems. We've been looking for a platform where we can collaborate and connect with each other and exchange and recognize value. So yeah, I would love to see sort of like a demo of the platform, and then if it looks good, like there's a lot of people who are looking for a place to land, and I think it could be really great for people within Seeds and Hypha too. So yeah,
that would be amazing. Yeah, I would be happy to share the link with all of us and see what we can do. Yeah, and exactly what you mentioned, this project kind of came when the first project came to be, where we opened up this we applied with these institutions for the MacArthur Foundation, $100 million, kind of finding the biggest topic to resolve. And we brought about a few institutions together to create this 5-year plan for regenerating Central America. The winners won't be announced till February, but we just received word a few days ago that we've already made it to the second round, and that our application is a good candidate. So we're hoping we have that funding to facilitate the work. That would make things easy. But that project, if you guys are interested, there's the whole co-creation is in the platform as well. So it's really, we decided to open it up for anyone who wants to co-create on it to see what ways they can add on to it, add value in it.
Oh,
So
beautiful.
if you guys are interested in checking that out further, we'd be very happy to have you guys on board and see what other value can be added.
And that's at Earth.
Sorry, come again. I think I couldn't hear you quite well.
DJ, did you ask, is that in integrity.earth?
Yeah, I did.
Yeah. You go to the website, Integrity.earth, there's a section under Forum, and under Forum there's a Co-Create tab, and that takes you to the platform itself, where you can sign up. And it's similar to what Reggie was describing, sort of like a LinkedIn, where everybody places their interests or the projects working on, and it allows for searching what you're needing and allowing for really where things match and there's an idea to be created, then the whole network can start kind of grinding gears and finding solutions to the problems in a co-creative manner, where it's precisely how it fits well into what Hypha does. What you guys asked before what Hypha is all about, it's also what I understood. It's more about that purpose, and this purpose that we all share is all about that we all have innate gifts and passions towards this, and if we just have the space to work on something together and to bring it about, we will do it, because we're in that same kind of flow.
So I've been hearing something about integrity scores on the Telegram conversation. Is that where that would come into play?
The integrity scores that were mentioned, that was sort of my idea of what, in my opinion, for example, the debate was between regenerative cores and I think, what was the other one? Regenerative cores and... Was it
thrivability or something like that?
Thrivability, yeah. And I think, yeah, integrity, the word integrity, or the concept integrity, kind of embodies regeneration and thrivability. It gives it another dimension. It gives it a deeper meaning, in the sense that what we mean by integrity is first and foremost integrity within, in terms of finding the accountability or the responsibility to confront and bring about the change that we see needed. And integrity in a second instance, in terms of allowing this sort of co-creation process where we kind of transcend our egos and stop thinking of the conditioning that our economy has put up to us, that we're all selfish and egotistical, but actually kind of fades away the ego and allows us to really work together on that regeneration process, and allows everyone to thrive. So, and again, that's kind of how the platform was designed, to allow as much as perspectives as possible, because only through allowing as much as perspectives as possible do we have an accurate, or more near to accurate, holistic approach to things, which is what has been missing so far in the culture of fragmentation, that I like to say. So that kind of was my input in terms of integrity score.
Well, the reason I ask about the integrity score is so right now I'm on the climate advisory board for the county, where we're trying to figure out solutions for climate change. And the things that's recently come up is the county is being forced to shut down its recycling center because it's not doing anything. It's not only unprofitable, but the recycling center basically only functions to send the recycling materials off to China, which is no longer taking them. So it just has no purpose. So one of the things that I'm researching is alternatives for diverting waste streams. And the big question that everybody's coming up with is if we're taking our existing model and collecting plastics and collecting waste and just shipping it off, how are we going to ensure the integrity of who we're shipping it off to? And I was wondering if seeds or Hypha would be a good model for doing that. You know, if there's pyrolysis models or gasification models or some sort of thing that's backed by this internal network, this integrity score that you're talking about. Is that the kind of thing that would apply to? Or is it more for just kind of like interpersonal, like LinkedIn?
No, yeah, well, I think you could multiple. So, for example, an integrity, sort of like the integrity score that we have been looking for would be, you could do it from multiple levels. What we have seen so far in terms of integrity score, you could subdivide it in terms of first accountability, in terms of the institution, how much responsibility are they taking for providing those solutions that are necessary, but not only through the institution, but through the community. So something that would be in terms of accountability for integrity would be, you would look at things, should be perhaps be consuming less plastic for starters, or is there other alternatives for plastics? And if we've already done our best in that, then we can see what other technologies there are to kind of minimize the projects and kind of have a score on that. And another factor could be in terms of inclusiveness, in terms of how broad of our solution is and how much of a big vision does it have in terms of long-term approach. So it could definitely fit into that. And I would be very much open to kind of analyze that further in depth. So perhaps we could have a quick call, and I would be happy to kind of give you a deeper insight into what an integrity score for that could be.
Sure, thank you.
Yeah.
Very good. I think this was also the idea of these community calls, that we start to get to know what each one of us is doing and are able to connect and start interweaving our ideas together and create something. So I'm very happy to hear all of these debates or questions. Do we have any more questions?
I just had a general question about like comms, and like I'm on the Telegram thread, and like, just are there any other communications channels that I should be aware of that I'm not on, or is that the main one? And like any regular rhythms like around these sorts of calls or anything like that?
Yeah, right now I think there's, for comms, it's really just Telegram. I think that at one point there was a Slack, or there was talk of a Slack, but I think the idea was like, just want to keep everything in one spot. So, I mean, the other thing to say is that this is very loosely held. So if you have something that you want to run with, you can start running with it, right? Like you don't have to like wait for someone to ask you to do something or to get permission or something like that. So like, like, let's say, we've talked before about like me, you and Mark, like doing like a culture thing with Hypha. Like you wouldn't want to make an announcement to the group that, hey, this is the official group for whatever. But like, it doesn't mean that you couldn't do anything like exploratory and then sort of check in with certain people to say like, here's what we're doing, like, what do you think? So yeah, I think like,
so we could propose a call on like whoever wants to be in a conversation on culture. It's not an official thing, but just
yeah, I
it.
wouldn't see any reason why that wouldn't. I think that would be totally fine. And if there's like oh, here's Reiki. Good timing. Hey, Reiki. It's here in spirit. Yeah, I don't think there would be any problem with that, Nick.
Yeah. Cool. The question was more around just like, is there anything I'm missing?
Oh no, I don't think there's anything you're missing.
So that's good.
No, and I think one thing that will help is there's going to be Lisa and I, and maybe there'll be some others, are going to be starting to check in with people. Actually, yeah, maybe you and Mark will be a part of this too, and starting to see like what different like kind of things people are bringing. These intro calls are helpful too, and then what are the kind of roles that people will be playing or want to play. And then once people have more roles, then there can be a lot more activity, because it's kind of like, oh, you don't have to just do what your role says, but you kind of know like, oh, if I'm doing that particular thing, then I can sort of coordinate, more broadly and more quickly. So yeah, I think that will really help create a lot more movement and activity as well.
Awesome.
Mm-hmm. Cool. Anything else think you'd be good to chat about, Lisa, or anyone else?
Yeah, anybody else if there are more comments? And otherwise, I don't know if Ricky is here now and would like to introduce himself.
Yeah, sure. Hi, guys. I hate excuses. However, I'm going to have to say I got a VPN, and for some reason, when I was pulling up this call, it had it showing at 9 o'clock. So I thought I was really going to be on time for this one. So I deeply apologize for having not been here for the whole call. Either way, yes, super stoked to see you all here and go through this. I'll just rewatch this video and get a sense of what happened here. However, I can jump in and say, are there any questions any of you have for me, or any understanding that hasn't been covered properly today that you felt like you wanted to have me for, or anything else along those lines?
I'm fairly curious about the roles, what roles there might be, and their scope, kind of a thing.
Sure. Could we elaborate just a little bit more?
Well, I guess that's kind of my problem, is I don't really know enough about them to elaborate on it.
Sure. This might be a recap for some, but I'll just be real quick. So the intention with our centralized autonomous organization is to create roles from the perspective of the organization and what it needs to thrive. So it's not necessarily what our gifts and passions are, even though we want to reflect that, because Hypha itself is supposed to be an organization that can encompass a lot and a wide diversity of people's gifts and passion and be able to unite them to a shared common goal. But still, the roles are saying, what does this organization need to thrive? And then we create organizations from that viewpoint, and then people can choose to fill those organizations or those roles based on whatever their gifts and desires are. So we're looking at Hypha and saying, okay, what does it need to thrive? Okay, let's build roles related to that. And you can come, or anyone can come from that perspective and say, okay, what does Hypha need? What does this organization need that I can offer? Okay, I see a gap in this organization's role chart. Let me propose a new role. Or I can just go through the existing roles and say, oh, that role would be really great for me. I like that, and I could propose to fill it. So that's how we envision Hypha expanding out. and being able to let a wide, anyone in the world really be able to show up and maybe even sense out where there's a gap that none of us had noticed before, and even be able to propose to fill that gap. So yeah, that's the direction we're taking with Hypha. I don't know if that answered your question or added more complexity, but
Yeah, that was great. I'm just curious where that role chart would be. The Hypha website, I would assume.
no, there's just a few documents right now. In fact, a lot of them. So I'm gonna do a favor and start aggregating. But I have one document that goes over a bunch of different roles, so it gives people a sense of what a role looks like. So I could share that document with you. I'll put it in the community group after this call. But the true source of what all the roles are will be the Hypha DAO itself. So we're fixing up the UI a little bit more to make that more legible, because it was there before, but it wasn't quite up to the standard we wanted. So we put a pause on that. We got a new developer coming in who's just awesome at Quasar and fixing up the Hypha DAO. Either way, that will be the true source going forward, is you come to the actual DAO itself, see what's been proposed, see what's active, and then you'll know. But in the meantime, I can send you the docs that we're working through.
Awesome. And then the only other thing I had was, so Hypha to me, and from what I was getting from the earlier conversation, is kind of an organization of organizations, different, different interconnected operations that supposedly make a better world, effectively make a better world. What would be the best way of proposing, an undertaking for one of the Hypha programs, I guess?
So is this from a perspective of an organization?
Yeah, I was talking to people earlier about the county that I'm advising my local county about sustainability operations and things like that, and the big issue right now is waste streams, and that seems to be an important part of any communal self-sufficiency model. Is, what do you do with material after it's served its purpose? What do you do with waste? And I was wondering if that was the kind of organization or kind of operation that would fit into the Hypha model.
Yeah, it depends on how abstract we want to go. So definitely from that lens of what resources are being wasted, how can we repurpose them, and how can we make better use of all the resources that we have, then yes, from that lens, you could say, let's join Hypha right now. And my job would be to understand what value we have, what resources are going where, what's being wasted, how we could better use those resources, etc. So that could be a lens that you could approach Hypha with the value add. And this works for individuals and organizations. But anyway.
But it wouldn't be like a specific, we're going to apply arcplasma gasification to all of our plastics specifically, and that's how we're going to solve this problem in this county.
I can't say no to that in the future, but I'd say that doesn't seem like a pressing need now. But what I am seeing happen with Hypha is there is a lot of organizations that are based on setting up intentional community and physical spaces in location. So they are joining Hypha right now, from architecture, what would you call it? Like regenerative architecture is how they put it. So building physical buildings to community building and location-based energy creation, that sort of thing. So I do see local communities being able to spring up through Hypha, and I definitely think that's one of its purposes, is to be able to set up physical community. So from that lens, I see waste management and how we reduce waste definitely being a key component of setting up those communities going forward.
Well, that's a whole other interest of mine. What's the best way of getting in touch with those communities?
Yeah, sure. So I could actually put out a couple of the ones that we're talking to now in the group. So there's two, they call them startup societies, but they're like startup communities happening here in Bali that we're working with. One's called the Golden City. Either way, So yeah, you can get in touch with me and I can put you in touch with them, or we can just start working on what a role would look like within Hypha to be able to support them and others like them.
Very cool.
Ricky, I have a kind of follow-up question to that. That's quite interesting that intentional communities are using Hypha, and I'm wondering what function does Hypha serve for them?
Yeah, so for a couple, Hypha itself could be duplicated and forked to make their governance and equity distributions. So if a local community wants to decentralize how it makes decisions, it could use Hypha itself. If it wants to have equity that represents community holdings, it could use Hypha, or not Hypha tokens, but they would have their own community token using the Hypha framework to build it. And then they plug into this wider network to be able to share resources. And the conversation I'm having right now, and people seem very excited about this, it really depends on how we execute, is that we have an alliance between all of these communities. So if you leave one community, you're almost by being part of this alliance, welcome into another one, so that we have these, communities all across the globe that we have shared value in. And I think that's what's going to really help underpin this future society that we're stepping into, is aligning all of these startup societies into one really large one, so that we have homes away from home everywhere we go on one side of it, but also that we're being better at exchanging value and supporting each other. And I think very quickly we can get to a tipping point where we have resources disposable to be able to rapidly set up new ones. Why right now that's a massive undertaking to be able to get enough buy-in to set one up. But if we pulled all of our resources together as we keep going, then I think we'll be able to much easier be able to set them up and keep this thing going.
Super interesting. Thanks. I'm very curious to see how that will develop. I'm somewhat connected to the intentional communities and eco-villages world, and I've been thinking a lot about ways that this kind of tech can help with governance and economics. So I'm excited to hear that people are doing that.
Yeah, absolutely. And I think that, bringing it back to the original question about roles, we kind of just did that. So we had mentioned how expansive Hypha could be, and where we can sense out areas for us to fit in and help this organism grow. And we just discussed this. You discussed what you're passionate and interested in. So I think you also just discussed either the foundation or what your role could be, at least in this time. So coming in and understanding how Hypha plugs into intentional communities, setting up those communications with them, getting them to understand it, that sort of thing. Which there is a gap in right now. We don't have anyone who's focused on communities themselves. So
yeah, I would be really happy to be a bit of an ambassador there once the model is a little bit developed, or even once it's sketched out.
Mm-hmm. Sure. Yeah, we could set up a call, because the model's definitely sketched out, and we're going through the process of helping out some communities rather, join through that nowish. So yeah, we could talk to you about it and get you plugged in with what's going on.
I'm interested in that too, actually. That would be really cool.
Yeah. So we can set up a call and go over that stuff. Cool. So along those same veins, does anyone else have any questions that they would like to dive into?
There was one question, Ricky, from earlier that wasn't fully answered. Mm-hmm. There's a timeline on the website for the passport release and going live on the Seeds website. And the question was whether that timeline is up to date. Can you tell us a bit more about that?
Yeah. So, and actually, today, we have our alpha coming out today and or tomorrow. So that'll be fun to be able to push out to you guys and start playing with. So we had a timeline for that being September release. That's accurate. November 5th is still when we're planning our beta, and we are on track to that. So that time is accurate for the beta release. It's hard to have any accuracy on the go lives 1 or 2 because that's dependent on our growth, how things are going, us reaching our milestones, that sort of thing. So it's just an estimate for quarter 2, quarter 3, quarter 4, that range. But it seems like we're on track to have those, that timeline met if nothing unforeseen doesn't come up. Yep. So otherwise, yeah, the timeline's accurate. If there's any questions around what that means, then sure.
I'm curious if you still have ICO on the horizon and where that sits in the rest of the timeline.
Not really. We're going to have an initial exchange offering, and that's just when some of the tokens that we're selling as a Hypha organization itself will be available for the first time for people to be able to buy on exchange. It's a little bit different from an ICO because for the vast majority of our tokens, we're not actually selling them. So half of the tokens created will be given out through campaigns for people like planting seeds, getting seeds, doing good deeds, getting seeds, being proof of food. So proving that you're part of the local food system will give you seeds. Love letters to Earth, write a beautiful love letter to our Mother Earth, tell her why you love her, why we care about her, and share that, and we'll give you seeds, that sort of thing. So we're trying to run a bunch of campaigns to get people excited, share a better narrative about a more beautiful world, and in doing so, rewarding our community. So that's in lieu of an ICO. However, we still are selling tokens. So we'll do an initial exchange offering, and the first one will be on a decentralized exchange starting in November. And then at that point, we'll be setting up conversations with different exchanges and doing periodic exchange offerings every 2 to 3 months until go live. So we might have 3 different ones of those at different exchanges to bring new people into it, to give them a chance to actually buy tokens if they choose.
Cool, thanks.
One thing that at least I learned more about on the call that Franz and Lisa are working on with integrity.earth. I think there might be a way to sort of move some of the seeds tokens or the seeds through that platform as well, to reward the people who are doing like good things for the earth, recognize on integrity.earth. I think that might be worth digging into. Yeah, we talked, Franz shared more about integrity.earth. It sounds really interesting.
Yeah, we've already also even applied as partners. So if there would be a role, a play somehow where we could distribute seeds to co-creators, for example, towards regenerating Central America, we would be extremely happy to do so.
Yeah, and I just want to plant a seed on that idea for everyone listening. Is we're creating a new financial system. So we, as a collective, are in charge of how we create new money. So it could be algorithmically created, or there could be instances where we say, hey, this local indigenous community has a GDP of 100,000 euros in circulation or whatever. We could mint 100,000 euros worth of seeds into existence. Just give it to them, like gift it to this community for them to start using and step into a new system. And as long as we're accurate with how big their GDP is, this wouldn't actually decrease the value of our currency at all. So this is a way of just being able to like literally create money into existence, hand it to other people, not harm any of the people who are holding that money, and give them an opportunity to step into this new system. And if we get that formula right, then yeah, this could be pretty exponential in how we grow and who we can serve and how many people we can bring into this. And that's kind of how I see the best way of serving indigenous communities and people of low wealth isn't to tell them to like spend their limited wealth and to put a big risk into this new platform. I'm much more interested in being able to gift them this currency and say, here's a new financial system that's better designed to serve you, and to be able to kind of just offer it to them to step in.
Just one thing to mention, and maybe this is going to be a popular opinion, but I feel like engaging in exchange might make it more meaningful. So when Franz was talking about the communities that they're working with, there are certain sort of non-financial capital or gifts that they're bringing, and then there's sort of financial capital that's coming back. So it's more of a reciprocal exchange. And I'm not saying don't do any gifting, but I think if there's if it's more of an exchange where it's like really valuing the sort of cultural capital and experiential capital and things like that from the people that are doing those kind of gifts and capital, that might have more meaning, and actually might be healthier for the ecosystem. I'm not like fixated on that, but I just think that it may be more enriching to do that versus just drop it for kind of like not, without a specific reason for doing it.
A incredibly beautiful upgrade. Yes, absolutely. I love that. And I think that's a much more beautiful way of going about it too, is saying, hey, we're recognizing the contributions to maintaining our integrity of the Earth's biosphere, taking care of the Amazon rainforest. That's valuable. That means something to us. Or all the other beautiful ways that you're serving humanity. So I guess, we can just bring that up, not just giving you money. I mean, you've given us so much without asking for anything anyway. Here's a fair exchange, or almost seem like it's not even quite enough, regardless of how much we give them, So I like that perspective a lot better.
And then it can be very specific to what specific initiatives are they doing, and then that can also create a market for more of those types of behaviors, to either be recognized or start to do them. So I think that cool. I'm glad that you like it. It's not my original idea, but I think it could be helpful.
So would that be something you could do for kind of like socially integral roles? Like teachers, as an example, pops into my head. Are you suggesting that, say teachers in America make $40,000 a year, we offer them $40,000 worth of seeds and say thank you for teaching, and then they can also spend in our economy as well as the regular economy, or how would that work?
It's a little bit difficult to do it in teachers because we wouldn't be capturing an entire economy. Where that's a very easy thing to do is if there's already a local economy taking place that we can just, what would be the word, like encapsulate or just bring into as a whole. Since teachers, they're already very well interconnected into the current economy, and they wouldn't be stepping out of that economy to join ours full swing because you're not taking over the whole local community in which they thrive, then that would result in a lot of inflation. I don't know if you guys are getting this. This is a deeper economic topic, but I don't think we could do a similar thing with teachers.
Sure. So you're more talking about if you've got an existing economy, or a hyper-local full economy, just basically replacing the currency with, say, from dollars to, say, seeds or
exactly.
Okay.
Right. You have a local community who's already like mostly local in how they're doing their exchanges. Currently, they're doing it in dollars or euros or pesos or whatever they're using. It doesn't make a difference to them. Now you can offer them seeds, and as a local community, they could be earning more wealth for exchanging that currency opposed to nothing. So that sort of thing.
The one risk just to be aware of is, so the big benefit of using, go ahead. Oh, I'll just mute you. So the benefit of using seeds versus dollars is that you don't get the sort of 5 or 10% inflation, right, where your money just keeps on being worth less every year. I think there is a slight risk for those communities if seeds doesn't continue to go on. We would want to have some sort of contingency plan so that they could continue to use it, no matter hopefully no matter what happens in this sort of broader sphere. So that would just be one thing that I would want. we just want to be really careful that if they become too reliant and it's still sort of 50-50 or whatever percentage, if it works or doesn't, I just want to make sure that there's enough resilience that that it's totally recoverable event, you know, in the sort of thing that obviously we don't want that to happen, but I just want to make sure that we protect against that.
Yeah, really good point.
Yeah.
And it being on a blockchain, as long as someone wants to maintain it, it could be maintained. With our architecture, as long as 21 people want to have it be alive, then it'll be alive. So,
nice.
I mean, it's pretty resilient in the nature of how it's designed itself. But anyway, cool. I don't want to keep diving down a lot of these discussions unless it is valuable for everyone on this call. So I don't want to keep everyone here. So maybe we can do, I don't want to also take this over, but I do just want to hear from each one of you, just kind of like a yes, I'm happy, or I have no questions, or I do have a question and we can answer it, that sort of thing. So are you guys all happy with doing a circle? Just, yeah, informal consent.
Sure.
Okay. Cool. So maybe I could just go with how I'm saying people. Nick, Lawrence.
Yeah, I'm happy with how the call's gone, and it's been really clarifying and nice to meet people and see people's faces and hear what everyone's up to. It's been great. I think that's all you were asking, eh?
Yeah.
Should I nominate someone else? Or
No.
Nicholas?
Sure, why not?
Oh, Nicholas Higa. I don't know if that's how to pronounce your name, but that's next on my screen.
It's a pretty good pronunciation. Yeah, I'm very happy to meet everybody. It's great to see everyone in person, to see so many inspired people with so many different backgrounds and skills being on this. It's amazing. Like, they all seems very complementary. So yeah, I'm really happy that there's a lot of people here that know about things that I have no clue about, put it that way. And yeah, happy to be part of this. It was great. So I'm gonna nominate the next person next to my video here. It's Reggie.
Yeah, this was great. Yeah, it was nice to meet you all, and I think it felt like good timing too, Reiki, for you to come in at the end and answer lots more questions. And yeah, this is exciting, and also really, yeah, Reiki. I think I'm not sure if you've chatted with Lisa or Franz yet about the details of integrity.earth, but I think sounds like there's something really special there. So I'm going to be digging into that too. But yeah, that was a great call. Really good to meet you all.
Didn't keep up with the trend of
Whoops,
nominating
my bad.
someone.
I'll go with Adam.
Thanks, Reggie. Yeah, I'm happy that we got to the second call where those who didn't go to the first one could make the formal introduction, and to see some of you again after our sort of self-organized informal call, and curious to see and be around for this as it moves forward.
Then we go with Matt.
Yeah, I'm very happy with this call. It's the first time I've actually interacted with any of these crypto communities, but I find this whole plan just fascinating. But I do have one question. I was going through the white deck, and am I correct in that the seed bank is similar to what all these other cryptos are trying to accomplish with a stable coin kind of operation?
Not all these other cryptos, but MakerDAO, and specifically MakerDAO, because MakerDAO, and not even quite, because a lot of stable coins are stable to the US dollar, and that's not our intention, or stable to, say, a basket of goods, also not our intention. We're wanting intrinsic stability, meaning stable within our own economy. And that's just price and demand stability. So that looks very different. So since we mentioned the US dollar's losing value at 10 to 12%, that's why things look like they're getting more expensive all the time. It's just because their dollars are becoming worth less. It'll actually look like seeds, if done well, is appreciating versus the US dollar, i.e. going up in price. So we're not stable to the US dollar in that accord. But yes, Seed Bank does a lot of really interesting things that a lot of other cryptos are showing and proving right now. So we're kind of taking the best of what we've seen work and bring that into the Seed Bank and offer some contracts there. One last bit of grounding, because I think this is super fascinating. You might all not, but the idea is that people like Bitcoin because Bitcoin's always going up in price. So they want to hold Bitcoin. They think it's better than anything else. But we could get those people and say, okay, you could take that Bitcoin, put it into a contract and buy seeds for the daily rate. Let's say seeds are $1,000 or $1,000 per one Bitcoin. So they put in their Bitcoin and they get 500 seeds. So half the price of their Bitcoin. And then they get to spend those seeds and do whatever they want. But at any time, they can take 500 seeds plus a small fee, let's say 505 seeds, and buy back their Bitcoin. So now they technically still own their Bitcoin. It's sitting in that contract. They can buy it back whenever they want. And they can still realize the appreciation of that Bitcoin. Because if Bitcoin keeps going up in price, they still only have to spend 505 seeds to buy it back. So if Bitcoin doubles in price, they take their 505 seeds, they buy back their Bitcoin, and they're still happy, but they still got to use seeds. I don't know if that made a lot of sense, but that's one of the contracts we're bringing into the Seed Bank to just help get a lot more value put into the system, because all those people just wanting to sit and hold certain currencies can still hold them and play with seeds and join this new system. And there's a whole lot of stuff going on the back end there that's good for seeds too, like burning fees and all that stuff, but it's a deeper topic. But yeah, that's kind of the light end of the Seed Bank.
Yeah, okay, cool. That's kind of what I envisioned. Rock on. Then I will go ahead and pick Mark.
He might have stepped away, so maybe we'll go with Franz.
Sure, happy to go. Yes, as everyone before, I think I'm also very thrilled to kind of get a deeper sense again of the tip of the iceberg and discovering of so much value that we have to exchange between all of us. And it's absolutely great to be here with you all once more. And yeah, we should absolutely have these calls regularly and keep getting to know each other better and better, as I already sense there's a lot to exchange. As we also spoke, I would also be very, very happy to extend the co-creation platform for all of us to start already stepping up the level and exchanging even more multiple forms of capital and helping each other in our purposes. So I'll be very happy to do that. And one other thing that might be of interest, which I had written to you, Ricky, earlier, but I don't know if you've seen it already. One of the things that we're doing with talking about the teacher-student situation and how to use the financial system to kind of incentivize people to do good things. There's currently a university in Costa Rica called the Universidad para Cooperación Internacional, and they are putting together a program on regenerative entrepreneurship. The president of the university is a very good friend, and they also called on me to be part of the cast to give this course. This would perhaps be a great opportunity to kind of use seeds to empower the students coming out of this course towards the co-creation of the financial system / the culture that we were looking for. I don't know what your thoughts could be on that and how we could best approach it.
Yeah, absolutely. I think that's a beautiful opportunity, and we'd absolutely love to support that endeavor. So yeah, we could dive in a little bit more on the details and what we need to do for seeds to make sure that could serve that purpose. And we can hop on another call with whoever else wants to join that call another time, because it'll be a little bit long of a discussion, I think.
Sounds good. Yeah, happy to jump
But
in
yeah,
a call at a later point.
Yeah, but I really think that's powerful, and thank you for sharing that and getting it out there.
Great. Oh yeah, and nomination, Lisa, that's right beside me.
Okay, thank you. Yeah, thank you very much to everybody. I think you asked all the questions I also had, so this was a great introduction for me too. And it was really wonderful to meet everybody and hear about all the amazing work you're doing all over the world. I feel really inspired now at the end of this call, and I have no further questions for the moment. And I don't know if Daniel is still left, or if that was already everybody, and Mark.
Yeah, I'm still here. Yeah, I'm super excited to be on this phone call with you guys. I'm glad to kind of get to know the other people who are participating in this. It sounds like we've got a lot of really great, a lot of high level thinkers and doers out here, which is really exciting. I think I probably have more questions, but all of them are really long conversations I'd love to have with some of you guys kind of more in depth. So this has been kind of a great introductory to a lot of the discussions I'd like to have, especially since, Telegram, you can only type so much so quickly. So I think, Franz, you had mentioned setting up a follow-up call at some point that I would really love to get into with you at some point. And Reiki too, if you have some time in the near future. I'd kind of like to discuss all the things that are going on for me, and wondering how some of it might interact with what we're doing here at Hypha and Seeds and everything.
I'd love to, yeah. Let's coordinate via Telegram, and we're happy to set up a call. That's from my side.
Great. And it's FJ, what's your name in Telegram?
I am not sure, but yeah, either FJ Allmeyer or Franz Josef Allmeyer. I think that's how I wrote it. But right, I can also reach out to you.
All right. Great. Thank you.
Mark, did you step back? Are you still stepped away? I'm going to take silence as consent. Cool. That is amazing. I think I could throw this out here to decentralized call setting up. So I've heard that there's a lot of different topics that people want to discuss and talk about, and I'm sure this would translate to other people wanting to join these conversations. So if there's a particular topic you'd like to discuss, we can create a doodle for it. Put the title of the topic, throw in what you're wanting to discuss, and then put it out there to the community group for people to self-organize around times to discuss these topics. I think this would be a really cool way of just moving forward and getting these conversations to keep flowing. And that's everything for me. I'm gonna go through and rewatch this so I can be as excited as you all are about all the beautiful introductions that you guys had. So that'll be my afternoon today. Lisa, I want to give you a huge shout out for setting this up, and then also give you the final stage to do everything to close it however you would like to close it, because you're the one that set it up. And also, I don't want to come into calls and just take over and be the facilitator. I know I kind of did that here. I do want the intent to be that if someone's setting up a call, that if they so choose, or they can nominate someone else, that they could facilitate that call, and we can kind of again start to distribute and decentralize this power authority. Yeah, that's the end of that thought. So I love you all. Thank you, and I'll turn the thing back over to Lisa. And another thank you to you.
Thank you very much, Ricky. I'm glad you took over. There were so many questions that still had to be answered, and yeah, it was great for me to be able to just listen and see where all of this goes. There's nothing left from my side to say. I had just been, a few days ago, I had been talking with Reggie that we want to see how we can bring everybody together and see what we can make with all the information that was gathered in these 2 calls about everybody who joined and talked about or presented themselves and talked about what they did. So as Reggie already mentioned, we're talking or thinking about how to go forward to maybe gather all your emails and short introductions again, and then putting it all into one Google Doc or something similar. And whoever wants to join in this conversation and has a few ideas, please reach out to one of us. And yeah, I think that's it from my side. Thank you very much. This was really great. I'm so glad it all worked out and that so many people managed to join. Way more people than actually filled out the doodle poll. So I'm very happy about it. Thank you very much. And from my side, I'm done.
Okay, well then if you all could do me a favor. Oh, wait, Mark came in right at the end. Mark, we can let you do any last thoughts or questions you might have.
I think that the initiative that Lisa and Reggie that you guys are doing to try and like help create the ground for interconnection between us feels like really, really valuable. So yeah, and if you need some other contribution towards that, I'd be happy to contribute and participate.
Awesome.
Thank you, Mark.
Well, you all stay beautiful. Have a wonderful day, and I look forward to seeing your topics and discussions come up and hopping in and continuing the conversation with you all. Cheers.
Likewise. Have a great
Bye,
day, everybody.
Bye, everyone.
Bye.
Bye-bye.
Bye. Thank you.